Whoops, hey everybody, Randy Hills, and it popped right on, but we're not going to cheat you out of the open.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales is now streaming live on Fun Media at fun927.com and is always on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, and at tv5wrestling.com.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guests.
Hello again, everybody. Randy Hills. It's the last Talking Memphis Wrestling show of the month of October. November's coming. Then it'll be Thanksgiving. Then it'll be Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Day. Man, time gets marching on, marching on, marching on. And man, today on Talking Memphis Wrestling on the 28th day of October, the 42nd show of Talking Memphis Wrestling for the year 2025. I want to say hi to Randy Dandy, Randy West, Thomas, and everybody that's on the show today. And folks, I'm going to tell you, and you can tell me for yourselves, if this is good news, if this is bad news. Tell you the good news right now, without a doubt, we have a loaded show. An absolute loaded show. Now to decide whether it's good news or bad news, and I think it's not good or bad. I think it is great, great news because we're absolutely going back to the roots of Talking Memphis Wrestling. On this show today, there will be no great Michael St. John doing radio business, doing football business. No Michael St. John. No Chris Ellis doing school business. No Dr. William Rusty Robinson doing doctor business. And for the first time in a long time, the producer of this show today will be the same person that earlier hit the wrong button and I came on the air sooner than I meant to come on the air and I looked like a fool, but that tells you right now how valuable Adam Dunn is to this show. But we have a great show. We'll tell you about all the great stuff, but first, the OG, the original, the first person that was my tag team partner, Randy Dandy, Randy West, and PJ, you know it too, and Ben and everybody else knows Dennis King is in the house, and we appreciate everybody. But the OG, man, the original, and he's going back to our roots. It's me and you, man, it's me and you.
We're back to the future. I feel like I ought to go sit on the front steps where I did the first one on Twitter on our first show together. Excited to see everybody. Excited for you and I to be on. Excited to go back in time to Memphis Wrestling, to one of my favorite eras and favorite shows, and glad to be here.
All right, very good. Why don't we get right into our regular routine, Pat? And the first take about anything you want to first take about. And PJ is saying, hi, Pat. I believe she loves you. And also, Ahmad, one of our favorites. And Thomas says, hello, everybody. Saying good evening to you, Pat.
Well, good evening to everybody. It's good to see everybody. I've been traveling the roads and the friendly skies, and I'm headed Thursday to San Francisco, California, which I've been to once for a 24-hour meeting, and I was back in Dallas the first part of the week, so I'll be ready to come home for the weekend and lay on the bed and not watch Alabama, who's off this week. So good to see everybody and look forward. Really, really looking forward to this show. This is a special era for me, and a lot of special heroes of ours. So look forward to getting started.
We'll do a little Dave Brown. We'll do a little weather report because right now I can tell you in Northeast Arkansas in Jonesboro, Arkansas, where the Randy Hale story began. And way down the road is where the Randy Hale story will end. It is raining like hell, Pat Trammell. It is 58 degrees at 5 minutes after 7. What is the weather in Birmingham, Alabama?
Well, the weather in Birmingham is not that bad. We don't have any rain. I see we do in Memphis. It's supposed to rain about 10 o'clock tonight, but one thing I want us all to do is think a little bit and send up a good thought and a prayer for our brothers and sisters in Jamaica. They're getting the strongest hurricane in the history of the Caribbean right on top of them. So hopefully that'll not do too much damage and move on through.
Andrew Calvin Jr. says, hi, Randy, and hi, Pat. I will say hi back, and I'm sure Pat will say hi back to Andrew Calvin Jr.
Axu, Andrew, my good friend Ahmad, good to see you. Glad you're here with us because this is a special era that I know is special to you too. So glad to see PJ and Thomas and Richard and everybody on tonight.
All right, so we will get to our subject of the day, and the thing we're going to talk about was one of the unsung feuds ever, and one of the craziest things that went on in 1983 was the best grossing year in the history of Memphis wrestling. In February or March, and Frank Seaton says hello to both of us. February or March of 1983, Jerry Lawler took over the booking job. By June, he was booking, had it hot, switched Bill Dundee from babyface to heel, and then they built for the loser leave town match, and he was gone, and it was chaos. At the end of the year, Pat, became the great trade of the end of 83. Bill Watts came to Memphis because his territory, Richard Coggins, hello to you too, his territory was on its ass. I mean, it was struggling like hell. The wrestlers were good. The wrestlers were big. It was typical same old, same old. And the Memphis territory under Lawler, and before that under Jerry Jarrett, but it was popping like hell and everything was good and a lot of great talent. And so Bill Watts, the promoter in Mid-South Wrestling, Pat, he called Jerry Jarrett and they arranged a meeting at Jerry Jarrett's home office, and he came up and learned how we did videotapes and music videos, and he came to the matches on Mid-South at the Mid-South Coliseum, and Jerry Jarrett says, you can have anybody you want except for Jerry Lawler. He's my partner, and he ain't going. So you can pick anybody else out, and how many you take, you need to send that many to me. He didn't specify anybody. Well, who Watts got was the Rock and Roll Express, Rick Morton and Robert Gibson, who was the number 2 babyface team in the Memphis territory. The number 2 team, because the number 1 team was Stan Lane, Steve Kern, the Fabulous Ones. He felt that the Rock and Roll Express would fit better because he didn't have the teeny bopper type of baby face, and the Fabs, even though they were that, they were older, they wanted to draw, Bill Watts wanted to draw the teenage girls. I'll clean this up because as they started talking, Jerry Lawler and Jerry Jarrett went to a Mid-South Wrestling television taping, and so they watched the whole taping, they watched the crew, they watched everything, and I'm going to do a little abbreviations of some bad language, Pat, so everybody be warned. So they watched the thing, so Jarrett or Lawler, at the end of the thing, Watts said, what did you think? And either Jarrett or Lawler said, and figure out what this, one of them said, where's the BJs? Where's the BJ? And Bill Watts, big old mean, tough, rough Bill Watts said, I flew you down here, you son of a guns. I flew you down here. I put you up in a great motel. I brought you here. I wanted to find out. I wanted you to look because you're running a successful territory. I want to know how you do it. And the first thing you say is, where's the BJ's? What the hell? Jerry Jarrett or Jerry Lawler said it again. Bill Watts was ready to jump over that table. He could have probably whooped both of them. I don't know. But then they said, Bill, there is no young girls in the audience. When there's no young girls in the audience, that means there's no young boys in the audience chasing after the young girls. That's the problem. You have the toughest, roughest wrestlers in the world, but you're drawing 70, 80-year-old great grandparents that won't buy merchandise, won't do this, and certainly won't be running around the motels at night. Said, so where's the girls? And that's the first problem. So Watts picked the Rock and Roll Express. He picked the Midnight Express, and Jim Cornette picked Terry Taylor, and he sent to Memphis people that you've never heard of except for one guy. A guy within a couple of matches into the business, a bodybuilding type. After the Memphis run that was very successful, he ended up in the WWE where he's a Hall of Famer in WCW as well. We're talking about Rick Rude. But that's my setup for you to follow up on. We're talking about 1984, the aftermath of the big trade of 1984. Here's Pat Trammell.
It's funny you say that. It reminds me of the old show, old saying. They asked Willie something, who was a major bank robber back in the 20s and 30s. Why do you rob banks? And he said, because that's where the money is. And if you're gonna get the boys to the matches, you need to have the girls at the matches, and that's the same thing. And I did some research on that trade, and of course, I've talked with you about it a lot, and Jerry about it a lot when he was with us, and and I've also heard Jim Cornette specifically talk about that. And if you look at it, that is the real genesis on a national basis of the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express and others getting that opportunity to go over there and showing what they could do. And at the time, as you mentioned, the Fabs were in Memphis. And I don't guess, and you would know, I don't guess there's ever been as hot a tag team other than something Lawler may have been with in Memphis as the Fabs. And Robert and Ricky were young. They were absolutely talented, and everybody knows that. And everybody that knew anything about wrestling could recognize that at the time. But they didn't get a chance to shine because nobody, and I don't think people remember this. Nobody was as over as the Fabs because they were the first of you know the girl drawing, uh, I say rock and roll, not Rock and Roll Express, but MTV tag team for the young people. And
Absolutely.
if you look back on Memphis wrestling or any wrestling, look back at Birmingham, look back at Atlanta. You had Lawler in Birmingham. You had Bearcat Brown and Lynn Rossi, and in Atlanta you had Ole Anderson and Thunderbolt Patterson. But you didn't have anybody in wrestling at the time to draw really the young people, and that was young boys and girls. Wrestling was a tough, and I'll say middle age, but really they looked middle age, and they kind of were, rough and tough, and the baby faces were were older too, and it was more of an athletic event as opposed to a rock show. And this is the genesis of what wrestling became, whether you believe it or not. Memphis and Watts with that trade is the genesis of what wrestling became. And I contend there would never have been a Hulk Hogan as big as he was in New York if there had not been that in wrestling, because it changed the way people looked at wrestling. It changed the way wrestling was presented. There would be no Freebirds who came out of the Watts territory. I think there would be none of that without this trade, and it really changed the way wrestling was viewed and how it drew in America.
Now, one thing that I think is an important cog in this, and this is what Jerry Jarrett said, because watch the TV, watch the Mid South Coliseum show, that sort of thing. Jerry says, hey, said, you're used to booking these big old mean tough guys. You don't know what to do with my little guys. You don't have a clue. See that little short black-headed guy over there? You need to hire him as your booker and leave him alone because he can get over that talent. Said, you won't be, Jerry just told him, said, you will not be able to book that thing. And Dundee, a student of the game and a student of the Jerry Jarrett type of booking, went in there, and the angles that drew money in Memphis that he had done and experienced, he went ahead and do it there, and it was successful. Randy West is in the house. Richard Coggins is in the house. Shane says it's funny how they tag uh, teams, the Fabs to the R&R, especially the Fantastics to the Midnight Rockers. All of those were a big deal. Thomas Crown says the fabulous ones in the Rock and Roll Express were the two templates for countless numbers of babyface tag teams in the area. Earlier, when I was talking about what Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler said to Bill Watts, Thomas tried to clean it up, said in a more polite way, Lawler and Jarrett were trying to point out that Watts didn't have the variety in the type of wrestlers that he has in his promotion. He needed to mix it up more. Let me tell you something, Thomas. Good points, but the truth of the matter, and Randy West will tell you, professional wrestling, especially done right, is not a polite business in any way at all. And that's why on this show, I'm not saying BJ to be rude. I'm not saying BJ to be nasty. I'm telling you how it was at in those days. And the little girls, if they bought their tickets to see the good looking wrestlers, the teenage boys would buy the tickets to see the teenage girls that were there to look at the half naked wrestler. It was a unique situation. Now, before I can tell, Pat has something to say, but I would say in the next few videos we will be talking about Jerry the King Lawler, who is currently 75 years old. Randy Macho Man Savage, who died in 2011 of an enlarged heart at 58 years old. And then we were going to certainly talk about Rick Rude, who passed away at a very young man in 2019. King Kong Bundy passed away. Jimmy Hart is currently 81 years, and the Ballet Angel that we will see in a tad, Pat, once she left wrestling, no clue of what happened to her. Speculation was that was a former relative of Rick Rude. I thought it was his girlfriend. That's what I thought for sure. Now Richard is saying Watts was big on big guys and had a collegiate football background. He absolutely did. So that was a lot that I said, Pat. So now you can unpack that and talk about, just address that as Randy West is watching today on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Well, one thing, and I'll tell a story that Jerry Jarrett's not shared just with me. He shared with the whole world. But I won't, and we're the old guys here, okay? But in America in the late '70s, you had in most cities that I knew of, and I know in Talladega, Alabama, you had two television stations. and wrestling was on there, and pretty much you had what my grandmother called her stories in the daytime, during the week, and I stayed with my grandparents some, and I would watch the stories and people. My mother would come home for lunch and watch As the World Turns at lunchtime. But one thing that changed wrestling and changed America, that was, kind of coincided with my teenage years, was the advent of cable TV. And what really changed wrestling, according to Jerry in Memphis, was that he had cable TV, and he walked in, and his daughter was watching something on TV, and it was all these music videos. And he asked her, said, "What is that?" And she said, "Well, this is MTV." And the Fabs were a directly influenced by what Jerry had seen on MTV. There was a video by ZZ Top called "Sharp Dressed Man" that had some some uh, some girls on there and guys dressed up and all that, and Jerry got the idea for that. Well, that's how wrestling was changing, because young people didn't want to see, and as much as I love it, and I do, okay, didn't want to see the interns versus Don and Al Green and Lynn Rossi and Bearcat Brown, and what became a baby face uh, changed. It wasn't the all American guy who may have, fought in the war and, was the protector of all things good. It was lights, camera, action. And the Fabs and the Rock and Roll Express were the first and powerful, powerful expression of that in America and in wrestling.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Brandon Wheeler is asked what I think of early Rick Rude. I watched him on Bill Watts television, and he was just a guy, and a muscle-bound guy, and he didn't do much for me. Quickly after he came to Tennessee, he was put with Jimmy Hart and part of the First Family and part with the deal with Lawler. I thought he was great. Now, normally I don't pick out video, Pat, that is not video quality, but this led to a boom in 1984 that was fantastic. This video is just 1 minute and 59 seconds. 159. And man, it's just so exciting. Again, the video quality is not good, but at all. But we're going to watch, listen for the crowd reaction, and here we go on Talking Memphis Wrestling right now.
I'm talking about with Angel. Take a careful look at all of the action that took place. Lawler trying to get up. He's on the second turnbuckle. He's on the top one. He grabs the belt. He's got it. Lawler's going to win it. He wins it.
Listen to the reaction, Pat, of the crowd.
And now he's wheeling hard. He got Rude, and here comes Angel. Jumps on his back. Rude slams Lawler down, and now beating on Lawler. Hard from behind. Angel driving away at the legs of Lawler. That's better than Rude. But it all stings. Now Rude's got the belt. Hard holding Lawler. Woo! Rude nails Hart. And there goes Rude.
Listen to the people.
Lawler's got a hold of Angel.
Whoa!
Wild riser. And the crowd responds. The only thing I can say is you saw her jump right astride Jerry's back, and of course that provoked the whole thing along with previous incidents in there. Angel is not with us right now. You can bet on that. Woo! We're going to be back in just a moment.
From the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee in 1984, of a great deal at the Mid-South Coliseum. That is the first major angle Rick Rude was in. And Brandon, it didn't take me long to figure out that was money, and he was absolutely going to be a huge professional wrestling. Again, Pat, I apologize for the video quality, but I think you could tell the reaction of the people and the great piece of business that happened. Poor Angel got pile driven.
Well, Randy, don't worry about the video quality. I spend my life going around Civil War and Revolutionary War battlefields, so I'm used to looking at old stuff. And Brandon asked a question, "What do you think of early Rick Rude?" And I believe Richard said he was doing jobs in the Mid South area for Watts, and I think he was underneath. I don't know if it was just jobs or not, but you know, some people just react well and perform well in a different environment. And the thing I think at that time, and it's really important, and again, I've said this before, I was very, very fortunate that in my hometown was one of the three test areas for cable TV. So I saw a lot of wrestling from just weird places. We had Mobile for a while, so I saw Mike Boyette, Cowboy Bob Kelly, and some others down there. We had Chattanooga, we had Atlanta, we had a lot of different stuff. But the thing that Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee, and give them all credit, and later Randy Hales, and certainly give him all the credit in the world, was able to encapsulate in the Memphis Mid South Coliseum and on TV5 was excitement. In my early days, I can't say that there was certainly that, but it wasn't to the extent that it was in Memphis. Memphis was on fire, and particularly in this era. And if you look very quickly, um, everybody but Vern to some extent, uh, Vince McMahon Jr., Bill Watts, Eddie Graham, um, uh, Jim Barnett in Atlanta, who brought Jerry Jarrett over to get some of that Memphis magic as Booker around that time in Atlanta. And, the Mid South Coliseum and Memphis Wrestling led all the other territories into the modern area of wrestling. And it started right here. And I think there's a great case to be said that it started with this title change. Would you agree with that, Randy?
Oh, I absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Absolutely, 100%, Pat. 100%. Just great stuff. Just great stuff. All right, talking Memphis Wrestling, first segment, 28 minutes in. So you stick with us, folks, because we are going to take our first break of the program and be back with photos of the week. Pat don't know what they are. I think he will enjoy our next segment, as you will too. Talking Memphis Wrestling, Team Hales and Team Pat tonight, and we'll be back in about 20 seconds on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales is now streaming live on Fun Media at fun927.com and is always on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, and at tv5wrestling.com.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
All right, Pat, we do videos every week. We do discussion every week. We do pictures of the week, and we do cards of the week. Do you have any favorite of the segments, the regular scheduled segments we do, or does it change week by week? What's your preference?
I think like everybody else, it changes week by week because the thing I love about our show is you'll come across something that puts you back there. It's something that has really moved you. I think you've seen that with me probably as much as anybody. We'll throw in Don and Al Green, and I'll remember back in those days, or Tommy Rich under the ring, or Austin Idol, and the people that I just love to watch. So I look forward to it each and every week.
We're going to start with our segments, the photos of the week, and we will let Pat Trammell describe who you're seeing, but there's not a person watching this show, I would hope to God, that don't know who this picture is.
That is the superstar Bill Dundee, and in my opinion, the godfather of Memphis wrestling. I truly don't believe, and I've been privy to a lot of backstage memories from you and Jerry and others. That you can't overemphasize what Tojo Yamamoto meant to the sport that we love so much.
This was shortly after Bill Dundee had switched babyface. This was probably into 76, and that's a great picture of the superstar Bill Dundee and the honorable and imperial Mr. Tojo Yamamoto. And of
So they
course,
were about the same size, about same height.
maybe with the hat, Bill got him a minute. Bill got him a minute with the hat, but that's about all. And Ahmad certainly knew that was Tojo Yamamoto and superstar Bill Dundee. And Thomas, good that you pointed out this past Friday, Bill Dundee turned 82 years old, and that is fantastic. To tell you about this next picture is Pat Trammell.
Now this, I wish Michael was here because he's done a lot of research into this. And this is, at the time, Cassius Clay, uh, from Louisville, Kentucky, and the fabulous one, Jackie Fargo. And Ali, that you saw in the 70s and 80s, got a lot of his out of ring and in ring persona watching Jackie Fargo. And I love it when Fargo's in the glasses. Great, great stuff.
I do too, and I can guarantee you that's in Louisville, Kentucky. And then that particular, it might have changed over the years, but this particular night, when it was Clay and Jackie Fargo, the biggest star in that picture in Louisville, Kentucky at that time that picture was made was not Muhammad Ali. I can
That's
assure you.
that's correct. And you're right, Richard. He was a tremendous wrestling fan. Absolutely.
Loved wrestling without a doubt in the world, and we'll go ahead and give Thomas credit for that. And we want to always credit our audience member of Team Hales that support this show, because if nobody watched it, none of us would want to do it. And you guys make us feel good, particularly every single Tuesday night, and it is good. This picture in 1974, been all over the place. I have this picture on my wall in my house. No doubt one of the most iconic pictures with your favorite world champion of all time, Jack Briscoe. Powder thrown by none other than our king, the king of Memphis at the time. Great iconic picture. And I'm not sure who took that photo, Pat, but it's a great photo. Your
It,
thought?
it is an absolute great photo, and I wish I had a copy of that. That is something else. And I'll tell you, Jack Briscoe was a fantastic world champion, and I would give anything to have seen he and Lawler in a match live together.
No doubt, a classic picture. This one, I kind of a dark horse picture that I thought was just cool. Do I need to identify this picture or can you?
Is that a Noki?
No.
Okay, then I guess you do.
The person on the left with the suit is Playboy Gary Hart. The rest,
Wow.
the wrestler with the wrestling tights on is Pack Song.
Back song. Okay, okay, okay. Is that in Louisville?
No, as far as I know, Gary Hart hated Jerry Jarrett. He never worked this territory. I stole that picture from a championship wrestling from Florida
Okay.
archive
That
piece.
that that is the old Tampa Auditorium.
Old Tampa Auditorium, and Pat knew that, and I appreciate that. Now, this next picture that we're going to do, Pat Trammell, you've already, I don't know if you mentioned their names or not, but I will bet your life, I'll bet my life too, if you don't know who this next picture is, because we've talked about them a lot.
There you go. The interns with Dr. Ken Ramey. The along with Don Green, the heel I was most afraid of in my early youth. And that I don't know when that picture was taken, but that was prime Birmingham Ken Ramey right there. The goatee and the mustache and the slick back hair was absolutely sinister.
So, Dr. Ken Ramey, born in 1930, that's the year Eddie Marlin was born. He passed away October the 17th, 2014. So, if we do the math, Pat, what is that?
84.
84 years old. Would you say Dr. Ken Ramey was more evil than Sir Steve Clements?
Oh, no question about it. No question about it.
Great picture on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Going back to a lot of places. Here's former football player, legendary, without a doubt, professional wrestler, number 40, a left end from Midland, Texas. He later became Chief Wahoo McDaniel.
Now, was he one of the wrestling lineage from West Texas State?
Yes, I am the Funks and so many.
Dusty?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Dick Murdoch?
I think Dick Murdoch says he went to West Texas, but people say that he actually didn't.
But
But
he
it's
played in the alumni game.
absolutely. You heard that story too,
I
right?
did. I heard that story from Terry Funk.
Classic, classic deal. Also, a wrestler that you saw on your end, he passed away in October of 2013. I'm sure you remember seeing in Birmingham, Dennis Hall.
I do remember seeing Dennis Hall, and I tell you that is a guy who doesn't get the credit he deserved, and he never really got the push that he probably deserved. He was a fantastic worker, a fantastic worker. I
Didn't he
thought
team a lot with Ken Lucas?
he did, he did, he sure did. He never got the tag team partner that he deserved and needed, but if you had put him, uh, for example,
And Bo James, who likes to fucking correct me anytime he can, no Wahoo went to Oklahoma anyway.
well,
Bo can't help himself. He just freaking can't help himself.
but Bo's generally right.
No, he's not always right. He was in that time, but he's not always
Well,
right. He thinks he is.
so was Richard. We stand corrected. If you could have put Wahoo with Phil Hickerson, you would have had a team or Bobby. Now, is this Chattanooga?
Yes, that's Harry Thornton.
Yep, yep. You
Who
know
else
how I,
is with him?
you know how I knew it was Harry Thornton?
How was that?
That stylish leisure suit there. Tell us who he's there with.
Crazy Luke Graham,
All right.
Ripper Collins,
Okay.
and you should know the guy, the other guy. You should know him.
I kind of do, but I kind of don't.
Gypsy Joe.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Next
Okay.
picture, Gypsy Joe in
And
1995. This was either in Memphis or in Louisville. I think it was in Louisville. This is the fabulous Jackie Fargo, who was celebrated that weekend in Memphis and in Louisville. Fargo and Gypsy Joe, and that's a great picture
I guess
as well.
Gypsy Joe worked up until he passed away, right? I think he had a. I mean, I know that. Who was it that beat him up pretty bad?
New Jack.
New Jack. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great picture of the fabulous Jackie Fargo. And this next picture is Harry Thornton. I believe that's Harry Thornton. Is that Harry Thornton or is that? Yeah, that's Harry
That's
Thornton.
Harry.
You see Nick on the far right,
That's
and
right.
Christine Jarrett's nephew was an announcer and a photographer and all kind of things. That's Mike Duncan there as they sell a tournament coming up at the matches in Chattanooga.
Okay. Where did they wrestle in Chattanooga?
The Chattanooga Memorial Auditorium.
And where is that on Broad Street?
I've been there, Pat, once or
I
twice, once probably.
I,
Uh,
be- I,
but
I believe it's on Broad Street, which is kind of the main drag in Chattanooga. It leads right into the aquarium now, but the aquarium wasn't there then.
a lot of video coming up on this show today, and that's one of the earliest publicity pictures of Rick Rude. And this is, I don't think that's his sister. Look at her eyes. That's
That
her boyfriend.
that's Angel, right? But
That is Angel.
yeah, but she was kayfabed as his sister, right?
No, we just didn't say. We said his. She was announced as the valet. Everybody
Okay,
assumed that was the girlfriend, and that's certainly what I assumed. And I think we're right on that, Pat.
okay, okay.
Talking Memphis Wrestling as we're 42 minutes into a very good show, and I don't know how much time we're we're going to spend on this next slide. It's not really a picture, it's a slide, Pat, and certainly I think you will be very interested in this picture. This was in the Memphis Press Center or the Memphis Commercial Appeal. This was in 1983, and the article is listed as drawing a crowd. What attracts 100,000 people or more in Memphis in the year 84? Number one, which surprised me somewhat, is Memphis in May, which is the barbecue fest, 918,246 people. Mud Island, Pat, when we'll come back I'll read this list and we'll come back and get your impression and we'll keep that up. Mud Island, which is close to dead now, 727,000. Overton Park and the aquarium, 511,000. Graceland Mansion, I am surprised, just 511,000, or no, 511. Mid-South Fair, 413,000. Liberty Land, 347,000. Monday Night Wrestling, which was just one night, Monday night, 275,000. Memphis Symphony was 257. The Showboats, 248. Memphis State Basketball, 229. 4th of July Festival, 200. Memphis State Football, 183. Brooks Art Gallery, 150. Memphis Americans, I don't know what the hell that is, 150,000. Denny Thomas Memphis Classic, 136,000. The Memphis Queen Lions, 100,000, and Music Fest of 100,000. And so, Pat, I'm just going to turn it over to you and leave that graphic up there. Your thoughts on this great piece of business that I found.
Well, it reminds me of something that I have downstairs that I looked at yesterday, and it has to do with the showboats. And this was the days of the WFL. And this is a Memphis magazine, and I want at some point, if I'm around Lawler, to get him to sign it. And I should have brought it to the Hall of Fame thing to get him to sign it. But it's a cover of Memphis magazine, and it says, and I'll go get it in a minute. It says, what does this man have that Paul Warfield, Jim Kick, and Larry Zonkadone, who were the three Miami Dolphins that came to the Memphis Showboats, and it says a full house.
A packed house
A
was the
packed
actual
house.
terminology.
That's right. That's right. And again, the statistics are incredible on Memphis wrestling, and I quote Jim Cornette on this, and for all Cornette is, he's a wrestling historian par excellence, and he's also good at math. If in Memphis's heyday, considering the population of Memphis and the Mid-South area, if Vince McMahon had drawn the same percentage of people to Madison Square Garden that Memphis did in, I think it was 1982, they would have sold out Madison Square Garden 3 times a week for a year. And that's the percentage of people that went to wrestling that year in Memphis, Tennessee, at the Mid-South Coliseum.
That's absolutely unbelievable stuff, and that's why we do a show every week, because we know we repeat stuff from time to time. It just comes back around, but certainly we find jewels like we find, and I wish we had the rest of the panel here, because that was a very interesting piece of business, Mr. Trammell.
I believe it was too.
1984. Are you ready to go back to it, Pat?
Let's go. My 22 years old, my favorite song was In a Big Country.
And I am trying to think. We opened this video and we see a bunch of people on here. It's Lance Russell, Jerry Jarrett, as we go back to 1984 on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
From all of the guys, Bill Watts and all of them, they really wanted something that would just let you have something you could keep.
We showed this a few weeks ago, Pat, maybe a month ago, but this is good stuff.
Okay, Jerry, that was a super night of action. And hey, all right, will you show some class?
You accepted all kind of awards, Jerry Jarrett. What's this award for, Mr. Jarrett? It's for promoting the big Pro USA wrestling show in Memphis, right? Yeah. You're the big promoter, right? Well, let me tell you what you forgot. You forgot the 2 greatest pieces of talent in professional wrestling today, Robinson Rick Rude and your Southern heavyweight champion, King Kong Bundy. Why weren't we on the card, Jarrett?
Can we talk about this?
I want to talk about it now.
Well, let's.
Why were we on the card? Just give me a good. You'll never give me a good reason.
Look, Hart.
I call your office. That Lone Life secretary tells me you're out of town. I want to know why we were on the card.
Let's just discuss this where we're supposed to in the office.
No, right Let's here. Discuss it right here, Jared. We can't find. Why were we on the card?
This is not the place to discuss business. Let's talk about it in the office.
Wherever we say we're going to discuss business, Judge, shut up, Lance. I want to know why Robinson, Rick Rude, and King Kong Bundy weren't on the big card. We made fools of Savage and Lawler. Lawler was all over in the tournament. We beat his butt all over the United States, and you put him in a tournament, and he's going to be on the big show. What about your talent? What about the stars, Jarrett?
What are you trying to embarrass somebody? Why don't you do this?
I want the man to give you a straight answer.
Look.
I want a straight answer, Jared. That's all I want from you.
I had some nominations to be on the card. So did all of the other 6 promoters. There was a select committee of which I wasn't even a part of that chose the talent. I recognize y'all, or I wouldn't have you working for this company, as 2 of the top talents in the country. But I didn't pick the talent for that program.
Yeah, but where was your stooge? Your little stooge, Jerry Lawler, was right there on every tape. Lawler was there. Every match, every tape, Jerry Lawler was there. And you have $2 million pieces of talent, and we weren't there.
Money will take this up in the office.
Why don't you just let it lie?
Hey,
Listen.
we'll take it up right here, Jerry.
Come on.
The people know what's going on. Yeah. Why Jerry Lawler over here? Jerry Lawler. Stooge made somebody else.
I don't own this television.
But no, hey, have we got an answer? No answers. No answers. Jerry Lawler. When you got a 450-pound brick house and a 240-pound brick house, you can do whatever you want. We're not done talking to you yet, Jerry. You don't walk away on King Kong Bunny and Robinson Rick.
Eddie, these guys. Out of here, will you? Let's take a break, and we'll try to get this settled down. Let's take a break.
Out scene, and just fantastic stuff. We've been talking about Rick Rude. Certainly, in that footage, we saw Randy Savage, we saw Jerry Lawler, we saw Jimmy Hart, we saw Eddie, Jerry Jarrett, Lance Russell, Dave Brown. But what were your thoughts on King Kong Bundy, who died in 2019, I believe, of diabetes? Your thoughts on that video and on King Kong Bundy, Pat Brown?
I don't remember. I can't recall exactly what the. It was like a combination of territories doing an all-star show or something. But that's called drawing a house right there. I mean, you tore up the studio to draw a house right there. Good stuff. And I never really enjoyed watching Bundy that much. I know he was a talented guy and he drew a lot of money. But I'll tell you, that was something else right there. Now at that point, were Lawler and Savage in a feud, and and Savage turned babyface at that point in time?
They had been in a feud for quite a while. This is probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks into Savage becoming a babyface and teaming with Lawler.
Okay,
Savage
okay.
is classic Memphis wrestling, baby. Classic Memphis wrestling. Now, the next video I'm going to show, Pat, is longer than most videos I do show, and I think you'll be interested in it, even though we normally don't show 16-minute videos. Let's say 61, 71, 81. This was a 22 or 23-year-old Randy Hales. You know him, Pat?
I know that guy.
Know that guy. He's doing the play-by-play. Lance wasn't there on a Monday night, so I was solo with the play-by-play. This is 16 minutes, 23 seconds. This is just a hell of a match. Bundy and Rude against Lawler and Savage from the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. Are you ready to watch it, Mr. Trammell?
Let's roll.
All right.
This tag team match is one that I didn't think I would ever see. One full 60-minute time limit. The first family of professional wrestling, King Kong Bundy and Rick Rude.
Do I still sound like that,
Their
Pat?
opposition, the team.
Say what?
As it is,
Do I still sound like that?
Jerry Lawler and Randy Macho Man Savage.
I know that guy anywhere.
Crowd's been waiting all night long for this one. Lawler tells Rude, said, "You busted me out, my friend, and I'm gonna get you." Macho Man, in a previous encounter, came to the aid of Jerry Lawler and shot a lot of people. Lawler opens up with a fist, and Savage with a big elbow. The Macho Man. Right hand. Lawler calls again for the elbow. Savage once again. This time he sends him to the turnbuckle. The Macho Man again. And Rude already is in trouble. The King. No loss with Randy Savage. That might be why they're such a great team.
The interesting part of this match to me, Pat, is during the whole match, you see the electric part. You hear the electricity of the audience.
Absolutely.
Bundy and Lawler. Bundy, the 460-pounder from Atlantic City, New Jersey, rocks him hard. Bundy backs him up. Here
Boy, Randy was so athletic.
100%. It used to be a Major League Baseball player. By the way, are you keeping up with the World Series, Pat?
So what?
Are you keeping up with the World Series this year?
Not really.
Toronto and LA, I think it's tied 1-1. 18-inning game last night, 1-5 the Dodgers.
Watch out, Mr. Coffee. Let's get up here. On the table. Savage. Bundy and Rude complaining. Referee goes over to Savage. That won't do any good. Let me tell you something. This Savage, we said it before, this guy
Thomas, I don't know I've ever seen that.
is crazy. That's what crazy stuff.
You what, Pat?
I don't know if I've ever seen Bundy with hair.
I don't remember ever seeing that either.
Once again, Bundy back slow. That time he caught. Drives a knee to the midsection. Lawler is running. Oh, Savage! Grand Lawler, 49. Hey, it looks to me like this team of Savage and Lawler going to be awesome. And here he comes. Officially the first time. Randy Savage. Down. And Rude out of the ring. What Savage is he'll come right off the top rope right on you. Guy's gonna come to the referee. But Jerry Calhoun then back away. Watch this guy. Rick Rude. There's no doubt we were complimenting Savage. Rude and Preston. Back Savage. Savage blocks it. And connects. Macho Mania. Sends him into the turnbuckle. Sends him into the boot of Jerry Lawler, and he makes a tag on the key. Lawler, we said it. Hardest right hand of professional wrestling. Out of the ring. Lawler's going to distract the referee. Lawler's had Savage come off on him. He knows what it's like. The Macho Man comes down. Listen to these people get on. The bandwagon on. Pop-O-Mania. The Macho Man.
Randy, how long have you been
The chair.
announcing matches at this
Something you
point?
can guarantee a
Doing
And
play-by-play,
he does. One of the posts surrounding the ring.
maybe 2.5 years. Do I sound like a rookie?
Here is
No, you don't.
some of the people here tonight. The Lawler Rude feud goes on and on and on with two more people added to the feud. On Rude's side, Bundy teaming with Lawler Savage. Tries for the powder on it. That won't work because the Macho Man broke it
this is good work by Jerry Calhoun as well.
Yeah, unsung hero. One of, I think, the greatest referee that I've ever seen. He is fantastic. I'm not 100% sure, but I thought he was already in it. Maybe he's not. If somebody could check on this for me.
Lawler, a shot to the midsection. Savage makes the tag on Lawler.
Randy is, Savage is just so quick.
What an athlete.
Well, God, his drive so quick.
You don't see that airplane spin very much anymore, Pat.
No, you don't. We certainly tried to do it in fourth grade, fifth grade.
Bundy is not in the WWF Hall of Fame. Should be. He made it very wrestling lady in number 2. So thanks for clarifying that.
Let's look at the sheer intensity with Savage. All over Bundy. Cross for the press, he gets it. Rude there. Gonna break it up. Some comments to Rude. Blocks out the ring. Bundy and Lawler in the corner. Once again, caught into the right arm. Into the boot of Rude. Bundy using the
1984. Get back on films in Memphis, Tennessee. We're watching King Kong Bundy and Rick Rude.
This could be it for the King. 1, 2, no.
Against Jerry Lawler and Randy Savage. Referee Jerry Calhoun.
Savage coming over to help out. As we saw the double team.
You hear the crowd yelling for Randy Savage to come and help Lawler.
Bundy saying, you want to pin him with? That'll make a mistake, because if you have a chance to pin Lawler, you better do it. Because I tell you, you're not going to get many chances to put the King down.
Next sticker. That's a classic right there. You don't see much anymore. Yes, sir.
7 seconds so far. Pass, and it has been a wild tag team match. Rude calls for Savage to give an opportunity for Bundy to put some punishment on Raw. Savage and Rude going after each other in the corner.
great, great work by everybody. Oh, that's awesome.
Unbelievable.
Shoulder up. And down again. The knee. Right down on the chest of Lawler. 1, 2, but Savage to break it up. Savage broke it up there.
See you tomorrow, Tom.
Went after Bundy. Called rude. And now the referee trying to put him back. Savage once again going after him. Look out. As Randy Savage with the elbow. You know that Savage will use anything. Bundy has Lawler in the corner. Oh, missed it by another fraction of a
That was
second.
good timing there, too.
That was.
He moved. Yes, sir.
See, they build it up for the high tag, and they're smart about it. The referee there, the heels coming off the ring, this tag team wrestling one-on-one.
Caught him again. Lawler, listen to this crowd. Get behind the king. Lawler gets that strap there. Goes to work. Look at those punches. Lawler can flat out kill you with those punches. Savage on the top rope. And he goes across on Rude. Lawler going after Bundy. Savage still goes after Rude, and that'll cost him, I am sure. Calhoun was caught. That's one thing about Savage, all the athletic ability, and he's absolutely crazy. Hit the referee, and now he goes out of the ring. Lawler with a chair to Bundy. Miller just flat out took him down. Oh, poor Calhoun. Poor Jerry Calhoun. As we better get back, as we watch out for Savage, as we know it. Minutes, 2 seconds. White Savage sends him in. Bundy and Rude, the winners by disqualification. We have some serious problems here. Savage and Lawler going berserk. Sends them in. Disqualification. Bundy and
There you have it. Memphis, Tennessee. So your thoughts, Mr. Trammell?
You know, I mean, you watch that, and how many years ago was that? 40 years ago, 43 years ago. And you know, it's as exciting today as it was that night.
Anything surprise you about that?
Yeah, really, just how well. And I know, you know, Randy didn't have a cup of coffee here. He was here a long time. Just how I don't know that I've seen parts of that match, but I've never seen them tag together. They worked together. They could have been a world. They could have been a Hall of Fame tag team in WWE and anywhere.
No doubt about it. I'm Randy Hills. He's Pat Trammell. We're ready to go with the final 45 minutes or so of Talking Memphis Wrestling. Peace out to Dr. Rusty Robinson, who had doctor's appointments in New Orleans, to Michael St. John, who's doing football prep, to Adam Dunn, who's at work, to Chris Ellis, who's doing assistant superintendent stuff. A lot of stuff going on. And Pat, we will go into the cards of the week, and we'll go through that. And I hit the wrong button, so we'll hit this button, and this goes back to
Way back. My goodness. There's a
This goes
star in here.
this goes back to Wednesday, October the 18th, 1961. What's interesting about this is October 18th, 1961. Pat, I'm talking about it now. I wasn't talking about it then because October 18th, 1961, I was not born until December the 10th of 1961, almost 2 months after. And this card, the opening match, even though it's at the top of the card, is Big Al Green against, we talked about a few weeks ago and had pictures. They made the Walking Tall video about him. Buford Pusser and Al Green in the opening match. The main event, a four-man tag team match. Let's talk about the prices. The prices for ringside, $1. For general admission, 75 cents. For children, 25 cents. Sponsored by the American Legion. And the main event, Lynn Rossi and Rocky Smith against Jackie Fargo and Joe Fargo. I have no idea who Joe Fargo is at all. Can you help me out, Pat?
I can't help you at all. That's the first thing I saw, and I don't know who Buford was wrestling either. And I guess he was finished his wrestling career before you came of memory.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I knew Al Green though. Let's go back to that card and let me find it. Um, these are the people that I've seen personally wrestle. I've seen Al Green, I've seen Lynn Rossi, and I've seen Jackie Fargo.
I don't know. I don't know who Rocky Smith was. I don't know who Joe Fargo was. And I think it was not unusual for Jackie to pick up brothers on the road as wrestling partners. Do you understand that as well?
Mhm. Absolutely. That is a interesting card for sure. This card is in 1973. 1973 card. The opening match, and sometimes Jerry Jarrett did this, Pat. He puts the Hill managers as a team. Jimmy Kent of the Bounty Hunters, Sir Steve Clements with Don and Al Green, and also Jim Garvin of the Garvin brothers against Randy Curtis, Terry Latham, and Dwayne Peel. The second preliminary match is an eight-man tag team match. Can you read that second match, Pat?
I can. We had the fabulous Kangaroos, Al Costello and Don Kent, and the Bounty Hunters, Jerry and David Novak, against Bearcat Brown, Johnny Marlin, Don Green, and Lorenzo Parente. Now, who is Johnny Marlin, Randy?
He wrestled in other places like as Johnny Eagles, Bill Watts, different places. He came to Tennessee, and they were going to call him Johnny Eagles. Jerry Jarrett thought he looked like Eddie Marlin, which he did, so he made him Eddie Marlin's cousin.
Okay, that's not the British cousin, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I can tell you as an 8-year-old, when he came to Birmingham and wrestled, and he did this gimmick where he was, you know, English people in movies at the time, and I think there may have been a Disney movie where they were uh, kind of dancers and fancy guys and all that. But Johnny Marlin, you would get him in a headlock and he would kick his feet up and just pop out of it. And that was like, I went and told everybody about that. So
How
they're
about
wrestling.
how
Go
about the
ahead.
first main event?
First main event, I would pay to see a judo jacket match, Tojo Yamamoto and Sam Bass.
And the
Second
next
main,
match?
then the second main event, Jerry Jarrett versus Jerry Lawler in a pile driver match. Third main event, Hair versus Hair, the Scorpion and Jackie Fargo. Now, who was the Scorpion?
It was, I believe it was either Don Duffy or Don Bass, and it was hair versus mask.
Okay, hair versus mask. That's right. And then a 10-minute intermission where lucky numbers were announced. They did that in Birmingham. They did that before the main event in Birmingham. And then Tommy Gilbert and Eddie Marlin, seconded by English cousin Johnny Marlin, against Ron and Terrence Garvin with valet Jim Garvin.
So your comments about that card from 1973.
Well, that's a Nick Goulas card. I guess the Garvins were traveling through the territory. I don't ever remember them in Birmingham.
Uh, I disagree with you on this. Let's put the card up there. Ron and Terry Garvin, and I think Jerry Jarrett, when he was booking Atlanta, got to be friends with the Garvins. Tommy Gilbert, Eddie Marlin, Jackie Fargo the Scorpion, Jerry Jarrett, Jerry Lawler, Tojo Stam, 8-man tag, and a 6-man tag. I don't think this has much of Nick Goulas written on it. I think this is more Jerry Jarrett.
Well, probably so, but a lot of those guys came through the Birmingham territory, and I saw them. I never saw a Garvin in Birmingham.
Very interesting. And we talked earlier about Chattanooga. This is Chattanooga in October of '74. Nick Goulas, Roy Welch, and Harry Thornton are the promoters. I'll read the first match. Blue Scorpion against one of Pat's favorites, Tojo Yamamoto. Then came a mixed midget man and grown man's match, Bobo Johnson and Dennis Hall against Dirty Morgan and Charlie Fulton. And the next match for the Southern title, read by Pat Trammell.
Jerry Lawler champion, and everybody's favorite run-in, Bobo Brazil. I guess Bobo wrestled primarily in Detroit.
For the Sheik.
For the Sheik, right. Dusty in early when Dusty would do a run when he was mostly in Florida, but he was wrestling for Barnett in Atlanta. I mean, in the late '70s or mid '70s. Somebody would inevitably turn on Dusty, and he would generally bring Bobo Brazil in as his what do you call a guy that you hire to come in and clean the town up?
Bounty hunter?
Bounty hunter partner, right.
So read the next one if you would.
NWA Mid-America Heavyweight Championship match. Don Kent with Sir Steve Clements, who was the champion, versus Salento Rodriguez, who I don't have any memory of whatsoever.
And the main event?
The main event, the Sheik versus Steve Kovac. So I guess Bobo and the Sheik and probably Salento Rodriguez. And I don't know if there was anybody else on there that came down from Detroit, but that looks like where that comes from. What year was this, Randy? Do you know?
Yes, 1974. October 17th, 1974 on a Thursday night.
Okay.
Next card we're reading is from 1976. It's a October event in 1976, and hard to read this. Butcher against Bearcat Brown. Tommy Gilbert and Roger Kirby with Al Green against Tojo Yamamoto and Don Anderson. The next match, can you read that, Pat?
That would be Gorgeous George Jr. versus Tommy Rich. The blonde hair was flying everywhere.
Then, Pat, the Southern Tag Team Championship against loser of the fall leaves town.
One of the more underrated tag teams in professional wrestling history. And that's a hill I will die on. Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey, who I call the original Midnight Express, versus Frankie Lane and Bill Dundee.
And the main event of that night in 1976.
maybe the start of the feud. I don't know. NWA World Heavyweight Champion Terry Funk versus Jerry Lawler, and I'm not sure how long Terry held the belt.
About a year and a half.
Okay, about a year and a half. Tickets on sale. All right, I was trying to see ticket prices there.
And they
That's a
did not
that's a packed card right there.
absolutely packed card. And the next card we'll look at, we are going to do several Chattanooga things. This is October 23rd, 1976 in Chattanooga, Tennessee. The opening match, Don Bass and Buster Brunson against Dennis Hall and George Goulas. Then came Roger Kirby and Tommy Gilbert against Mike Hendricks and the Big Cat Bearcat Brown. The final two matches. Here's Pat Trammell on Talk Memphis Wrestling.
Now this is a match I would love to see. Southern Tag Team title, Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey versus Tojo Yamamoto and Tommy Rich. And Tommy Rich might have been 14 years old then. That's early Tommy Rich, I think. Southern title match, Jerry Lawler versus Cowboy Frankie Lane, who was a Mobile, Alabama mainstay in the territory there. Now that was a young George Goulas too.
Yes, absolutely a young.
What was your opinion of Dennis Hall?
I thought he was okay.
Yeah,
Didn't seem a lot though. Didn't seem a lot. When Lawler brought him back in '83, he was almost. I'd hate to say over the hill, but he wasn't very good.
yeah, he was out of gas. He got a half a push in Birmingham a couple of times, and I think a half a push is being generous.
1975, Birmingham, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Chattanooga, Tennessee in 75. I'll do the opening match. Buddy Diamond against Jimmy Kent. Two more to go in 1976. Pat, the Grudge Tag Match.
The Grudge Tag Match return Grudge Tag Match battle. The Golden Hawks versus Eddie and Tommy Marlin. And I don't know who the Golden Hawks were.
No time, no disqualification, mask at stake. The Marlins will throw $150 to the crowd if they lose. I bet that didn't happen.
All right. Hold on. I got to do some math for you here.
Okay.
What year was this?
Let me see. This would have been 75.
All right.
Talking Memphis Wrestling, Randy Hills and Pat Trammell. Pat's doing some banking work right now.
Well, I did it wrong.
It's great television, everybody. Only on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Only live. 1975, you say?
Yes. More Rick Rude and Jerry Lawler coming up after the cards of the week.
All right, that would be the equivalent of throwing $903.28 into the crowd tonight, which was enough to have a scrum about.
And that would cause a riot.
Absolutely.
The main event.
Main event, Bob Armstrong versus the Stomper. Loser must leave town for 6 months, no time limit, no disqualification. I would have liked to have seen that match.
There's no doubt about it.
The early Stomper was an athletic, great worker. And unfortunately, I got to see him primarily at the tail end of his career in Atlanta, where he was more or less monster type.
We are going to continue with Chattanooga, Tennessee on May 29th, 76. Opening match, David Schultz and Bill Ash against George Goulas and Don Cronodle. Eddie Marlin against Domino. Duke Miller and Ken Dillinger against Jerry Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto. Roger Kirby against Frankie Lane in the main event. Hickerson and Condrey in 76. They had a hell of a feud with Jackie Fargo and Big Bad John. And before we get Pat's impression, I don't remember ever seeing live George Gulas in action. I've seen Don Kernodle, Bill Ash, David Schultz, Eddie Marlin, the Domino, Duke Miller, Ken Dillinger, Jerry Jarrett, Tojo Yamamoto, Frankie Lane, Roger Kirby, Big Bad John, Jackie Fargo, Dennis Condrey, and Phil Hickerson. So the only one on this card I've never seen in a match, Pat, live, is George Gulas.
You know
So
what that
your
tell
thought?
that my thoughts are you were living right in those days. Uh, I think that's a solid card, top to bottom, right there.
So yeah, Chattanooga was a good town, and there is no doubt about that. We'll leave Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we'll go to Louisville, Kentucky, and this date was October the 15th, 1978. The ringside tickets were $5. And Pat, why don't you do the honors and read this card?
The
It's good.
opening match, Terry Sawyer versus Hans Schroeder, a return match, Tommy Gilbert versus Luthez. Uh, Southern Tag Title match, Jimmy and Johnny Valiant, the Valiant Brothers versus the Bounty Hunters with Chuck Malone. NWA Junior World Heavyweight Title match, Nelson Royal versus Robert Gibson. And the main event, Bill Dundee and Joe LeDuc.
Did you read the third match on the card, Don Fargo and Wayne Ferris?
I missed Don Fargo and Wayne Ferris. My apologies.
So on this card, the only ones that let's look to see if I've seen Schroeder, Terry Sawyer, he was great. Luthez, Tommy Gilbert, Don Fargo, Wayne Ferris, Bounty Hunters. I've seen Jimmy Valiant. I've never seen Johnny Valiant. I've seen Nelson Royal, Robert Gibson, Joe LeDuc, and Bill Dundee. So Johnny Valiant's the only person on this card, Pat, that I've never seen.
Now, what Nelson Royal could work pretty good, right?
He's great.
Yeah, I thought that. I remember seeing him several times in Birmingham.
Did you see him in Birmingham?
I believe I did, yeah.
Maybe more of a Nick guy. Richard Hood is saying, guys, did you hear that Mike Rotunda is in hospice care? Yes, unfortunately, Richard, that was broke today, and that was very sad. Barry Windham broke that news for sure. Broke that news. So did you hear that, Pat?
I did. I saw that on Twitter, and I saw a picture of him from, I think, over a year ago, and he looked, he didn't look in great health there. He was in a chair and all that. So, all our bodies break down at some point. Thoughts and
This
prayers to his family.
This is October 17th, 1979, from the Fairgrounds Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. This is after the split of 77. This is a Nick Gulas card, and here's Pat.
Okay, the first match in Nick Gula's form, a mass babyface nobody's ever heard of, the Red Terror versus Shawnee Bowen. Hans Schroeder versus Joey Rossi. Special challenge match, which I would have liked to have seen very much. Tojo Yamamoto versus Gypsy Joe. Main event, NWA World Six-Man Tag Championship match. Dennis Condrey, Bobby Fulton, and Don Fulton, the challengers, versus George Gulas, Ken Lucas, and Prince Tonga, the champions. And then the main event, Bobby Eaton, Spec Second, and Tojo versus Dutch Mantell, Spec Second, and Ken Lucas. I don't know what Spec Second means.
Special
Oh,
manager. So
okay.
Mojo with Bobby, and it was Ken Lucas with Dutch Mantell.
Okay. Never heard of that. Tickets on sale. St. Barry's Jewelry and Loan Company. No prices listed there.
Pretty good card for Nick Gulas in the dying days. By 1980, he was out of business, and there we go with the cards of the week. So what one card of of the ones because we saw Jackson 61, Memphis 73, Chattanooga 74, Memphis 76, Chattanooga 76, Chattanooga 75, Chattanooga 76, Louisville 78, and Nashville 79. Pat, which
I,
one would you like to see?
I would like to have seen that Louisville card, I think.
Yeah, that would have been just a fantastic card as well. We are featuring Pat Trammell and myself, Randy Hills of Memphis Wrestling. We are talking Memphis Wrestling, and we're featuring 1984. This is a 6-minute, 28-second video, our last video of the day, and we'll certainly be out of here on time today, no doubt about it. This is an interesting situation and one of the first major angles Rick Rude ever did. Pat, let's watch.
Let's roll.
Now, you ain't seen nothing yet. You know, Toto, Rude and Lawler, what a great feud. But Toto, let me tell you something. I'm going to bring some flies.
Hey, Pat Rose. Appreciate it.
On your head like I did that little feud last week. I'm bringing the whole first family. I want you to be there too tonight, Russell. Come on, Randy. We had a match coming up right here. Oh, come on. Hey, listen. Jimmy, don't tell me what the next spot. I'll tell you. Well, let me tell you something. I said I had a few things on my mind, didn't I, Lance? Now I think it's time to get him off. Give me that microphone. Jerry Lawler, you come out here and you talk like a big man. Jerry Lawler, you come out here and you talk like a big man. You costed me my heavyweight title. You punched out my valet. And now you crippled her up. What did he say my brain was like? What, a baby in a boxcar and a gnat binder? Let me tell you something, Lawler. I don't need much of a brain to rub you off, punk. You know, Lance, you ever have a feeling where you hate somebody so bad? You hate somebody so bad, whatever damage you can do to him can't be enough. I could beat Jerry Lawler to a pulp, put him in a wheelchair, make him a vegetable, it still wouldn't be enough for me, Lance. I hate you so bad, Lawler. I want to wreck you. I want to wreck your home. I want to wreck all your relatives. And you know what, Lance? Jerry Lawler, you can't wait till Monday night. Well, let me tell you something, punk. I can't wait till Monday night either. I just can't wait. Come here, Russell. I want you to walk with me over here, Russell. Come here. Come on, Jimmy. Now, what is all this stuff? We got a match coming up here. Hey, Rude. Come with me, Russell. What are you doing?
Pat, this does not look orchestrated at all.
It doesn't, and nobody can use a parking lot like Memphis Wrestling.
He tore the windshield right out
This
of
this
Jerry
is not.
Lawler's car.
Look at that shot there. This does not look scripted or planned
He's
at
the
all.
one that's going to have to pay for it. Oh, here comes Lawler. Get him, Jerry.
Look at those kids,
Lawler
y'all.
going after him. Hey, out there, who was that? Oh, Bundy. Out there waiting on
Pat
the car,
Rose
and there's
saying
Hart.
here's Rick Rude's first match on Atlanta TV for Georgia Championship Wrestling, so we
Goes out there
appreciate
with
nuggets
a
like that.
ball bat and knocks the windshield out. Beat on Lawler's car. Well,
Look at Lancey.
there is absolutely no way to anticipate how low Hart and that first family can get. Lawler came running after him. And they had Bundy sitting out in the car. There's Jerry looking over what's been done. Jerry, who had wrestled earlier on Championship Wrestling in the event that you didn't see it. They got him back out of the shower. Well, okay. Well, let's end their days like this.
Is that a Lincoln, Randy?
Yeah, the Lincoln Town Car.
Took a ball bat and absolutely
Is that
just
Lawler's car?
shattered
Yes.
Lawler's windshield, beat on the car, walked all over it. Yeah, okay. All right, let's take a break, and we'll be back with action.
Now talk to me about the door out back there. Was that a lift door, I guess?
A rolling door. Uh, Certainly, uh, that was a part of the TV station, and it had. How often did you see that?
Other than Memphis, I never saw it. I think Arn and Tully maybe jumped Dusty in the parking lot in Georgia one time, maybe, but not like Memphis,
Now,
not live.
Now, I'm a big lover of studio wrestling, the real studio wrestling, like Nick had in Birmingham or in Chattanooga or in Huntsville, and certainly we had it in Nashville and in Memphis at several stations, Atlanta, Georgia. Studio wrestling, there's just nothing like it. Pat, my question to you is, have you ever been to studio wrestling in your life?
You know, I have not.
Have you not? You have missed out, my friend. You
I
really
guess
have.
so. I guess so.
You've watched it a plenty of times.
I've watched it plenty. I can't remember when I wasn't watching it, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
One of the things that's interesting to me from a formatting situation, we almost always go over, almost always. But the difference is, I I'm just as deep on my notes as I normally are. Same format, same number of cards, same number of everything, and we are 15 minutes slighter than we normally are at this time. And the difference, Pat, and I enjoy our panel when we're at a full panel. I think you do too. But when we have just me and one other, you just don't have as much people talking, so you get through the shit quicker, Pat.
Well, that's right. That's right. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. It's good to be just being you back in the saddle again. I mean, certainly I enjoy our brothers and everything else, but it's kind of nice just the two of us to have a fireside chat, if you will.
If you will, Dusty Road would say, hey, of all the videos we saw, and we saw Angel being power driven, we saw the big brawl involving Jerry Jarrett and Lawler and Savage coming up. We saw that tag team match with Rick Rude and Bundy against Lawler and Savage, and we saw the parking lot disaster with Lawler's car no more. So out of the four videos we watched on Talking Memphis Wrestling today, I'm asking our audience, asking Team Hills, asking the fans what they thought, and I'll now ask Pat, which one of those videos did you enjoy the most, or is it a tie?
You know what? I really, and I guess I know I've seen it before, at least parts of it. But the match between the Lawler and Savage versus Rude and Bundy match was really, really good. Better technical wrestling than I would have imagined it would have been. It
And of
really,
course, of course, it didn't hurt Pat that a friend of yours was doing play-by-play.
that's correct. That's absolutely correct, and it added to it for sure. And Mike, I agree. It was awesome. It was awesome, and your play-by-play added to it. But there was an athleticism in Memphis, and I'm pointing at Randy Savage in this. I never saw that level of athleticism out of Randy in his WWE glory days. And just it was stiffer working, and much more high spots, less technical wrestling. But I really really enjoyed that match, and I thought Bundy was more athletic than you saw him in later years too.
Because just the style was so different up north and they're so different in New York and in Memphis the style was like a barroom brawl. Interesting comment here, and I did not need to put that on there. And PJ agrees her favorite match was of what we showed today was the tag team match.
I was surprised, and I know they may have wrestled together some, but I thought Lawler and Savage, which you didn't see that because Randy was the heel most of the time he was here. I thought they had a real chemistry in that match. I mean, I think they could have gone to well, they could have gone anywhere, but I mean that could have been a dominant tag team in any territory in America.
Dennis King says, as back to our talk about studio wrestling, it was hard to get in Memphis studios on Saturday morning. And the way they used to do that, and I don't know how it was in Birmingham or Chattanooga, anywhere else, but in Memphis, we used to have the announcers announce, say, hey, if you want free tickets to studio wrestling, send a self-addressed stamped envelope, if it was on Channel 5, to Studio Tickets, 1960 Union Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee, and send a self-addressed stamped envelope, and we'll send you tickets. And there was normally a 5 or 6 month waiting list for
Wow.
those free tickets.
And they
Just
were free, and no, and now I'm shocked that my philanthropic friend Jerry Jarrett didn't charge for those tickets.
and some First of all, because it was in a TV station, I would
Probably
imagine the
couldn't.
TV
Yeah,
station wouldn't let you. But the
yeah,
whole deal, it was like an infomercial. The money back then in the 70s and early 80s, you didn't get TV money. Later on, you did. Nothing like the billions of dollars you get now, but you got money. But back then, 100% of the money you got, the rest, here's the rule: the enhancement talent. When I first became a member of the office in the early 80s, it going to television, the enhancement talent would get for television 25 cents. $25, $25. The Jim Jamesons and the Robert Reeds and the Refrigerator Thompson and all those people, the Melvin Kimballs, all back in the days. The Lawler, Dundee, Fabulous Ones, Tojo, all the top stars. Do you know what their payoff was for TV?
$100.
Zero.
Okay. Okay.
Because it was sold on that, that is where you make money on Saturday the rest of the week, whether
Right.
it's on Memphis TV or Louisville TV or Evansville TV. And so yeah, they were not paid for television because they were paid 100% from the house show business.
Now let me ask you this: were the regular crew paid once a week or by the show?
Now, it changed over the years, but for the most part, the wrestlers could get a advance, a draw every night. It
Okay.
went from $50 when I started to $40 later on. In Power Pro, I raised it back up to 50, so you could get that. Usually, the younger talent would get what we call a draw. Get a draw. They used to do it. The main event talent, like Lawler, Dundee, Tommy Rich, just whatever the guys being used, they were paid once a week. In the earlier days, it was normally on Wednesday in Evansville. Later on, it became, or vice versa. Sometimes it was Memphis on a Monday night. Maybe that was the beginning, Memphis on a Monday, and then it changed it to a Wednesday. But basically, everybody got a check Monday. If the check, and some people was a piece of paper said 6 downs, uh, uh, $300 total. Then they said minus advances, and it said $300 net due zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would happen as well. In the last few minutes of the show, I guess we will finish the way we always finish. Pat, what in particular did you enjoy or learn about Talking Memphis Wrestling on this edition as a reunion? Back to our roots. This is just Pat and Randy. What did you learn?
I learned about the Popo and Bundy years coming through, and I'm glad we got the opportunity to the uh, go through the Watts and Memphis talent trade, and I went back and did some research on that and looked at who went where and all of that, and really, that was a seminal moment in for a lot of careers, right? There would be no Rock and Roll Express as we know them if they hadn't have gone. There'd be no Jim Cornette as we know them if he hadn't have gone to Watts territory. Probably it got Rick Rude a leg up coming here. So, as I thought about it, and I did a lot of scratching and making notes and all that, that launched a lot of careers. And I'm not sure that a lot of those folks would have had the careers they would have had without that happening to them.
I agree with you for sure. What I enjoyed about the show is watching videos that I hadn't seen in a while, and always we and our pictures of the day and our cards of the day. That's always exciting to see. And I thought it was pretty interesting, Pat, when we look at the things in 1984 when they did this article, you look at the thing, and so I'm just interested in we'll end the show with this. There's 18 things on this list. What have you heard of on this list, Pat, and what have you not heard of?
I don't know if there's anything on that list I have not heard of. Uh,
What?
the Memphis Chicks it was the baseball team. I think they're now the Redbirds.
Yes.
The Memphis Americans, I think, was a what was the other basketball league?
ABA?
ABA, maybe, I think. And I don't know. Well, the Memphis Queen Lions, was that the Showboat?
No, the Memphis Queen Lines was like a tour. People could go on the Mississippi River.
Okay, okay.
That was on
That's
the
the
river at Mud Island.
yeah, and that's the they got a boat now. I want to check something right quick. Give me just a minute. This is 1984.
Yes, 1984, and Memphis, Tennessee. As Pat's checking that, and as I will real quick see who else.
The city of Memphis in 1984 was a little more than 600,000 people. So put that right back up if you would, Randy.
Okay, as we will try to find that, and there we go.
So if you look at that, uh, 1 in 2.5 people statistically had been to Memphis Monday Night Wrestling in the course of a year.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it for sure.
That is great. Well, Pat, what are you having plans for the weekend? No Alabama football.
No Alabama football. I'm going to
Kansas City.
I'm going to Coleman, Alabama in the morning to see my dentist who moved up there from me. I have an appointment at 7 a.m. And then on Thursday, I am flying to San Francisco, California for a celebratory dinner with a bunch of lawyers who are celebrating all the money they've made out of our Spectrum business. And then I'll be coming back Friday, and I'll be recovering from that because I was, as you know, I did to Dallas and back yesterday. So I'm trying to keep this 63-year-old body at least halfway ticking.
Looking like $1 million. You did great today. How does it feel to be back to our roots, Pat?
It's been a lot of fun. It's kind of nostalgic, but I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it.
We've since we've been broadcasting, I'm just looking here on my little alert that comes at the bottom of the computer. We've had 1 inch of rain since we started this show.
Wow. Well, I hope your power stays okay. And Thomas, thank you for your nice comment. We love y'all too.
54 degrees in Jonesboro, Arkansas. What's it there, Pat Trammell?
Let's see what it is in the Magic City. It is 56 degrees here too. Looks like there's a drizzle coming. Light rain is expected to stop in 5 minutes and start again in 25 minutes.
Very interesting. That is Pat Trammell and Randy Hill's version of being Dave Brown. Folks, it's been a blast. Appreciate you supporting Talking Memphis Wrestling. And hopefully next week Adam will return. And Michael and Doc and Chris. Did I forget anybody?
Don't think so.
And I hope I'm back. And I hope you're back. I hope you're back. All right. Everybody, for Pat, I'm Randy, and we're out of here for Talking Memphis Wrestling. And thank you so much for discussion and watching Memphis Wrestling. We go.
Good night.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales is now streaming live on Fun Media at fun927.com and is always on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, and at tv5wrestling.com.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hale and special guests.